My name is Brandon, Theme Park Recommendations, and to my right is Eddie from Eddytainment. You gotta go check him out. And his home park is Kings Dominion, and I'm here to press some hardcore questions on this guy about the park's future. And I'm gonna share my thoughts on what I think Kings Dominion could be in the next 5 years with their brand new 2025 new B&M wing coaster Rapterra, which I'm super excited about. I know you live about an hour away or 30 minutes
30
away.
minutes, 30
You're
minutes.
there all the
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
If you ever see him, go give him a hug. He hates hugs.
No, I
So be
don't.
sure to go give him a hug. So what's your thoughts on Rapterra real fast? And I would love to know what you think about the future of the park. I'll share my stuff too. So
Yeah. So as far as Rapterra goes, I'm super excited for a ride to just take over that plot of land. That plot of land has been sitting vacant.
it's no
for way-
volcano though, man. Like,
Yeah.
oh, volcano was such a great ride. I love it. I just told you about my last ride ever on it was my front seat rollback, and it
Yeah.
was so amazing.
But was anybody ever going to be volcano?
No,
No.
I mean,
And-
it was so unique. And
Yeah.
if they kept the volcano and maybe had a wing coaster, kind of like what
Yeah.
Canada's Wonderland's doing with Alpen Fury,
Yeah.
maybe.
Maybe.
But man,
I think you would have needed like two spectacular rides to take over
that's
that
true.
spot in order for them to compare to
it
volcano.
was so good.
So you're
What's your thoughts on Volcano, everyone? If you've been on Volcano, let us know in the comments what you think of it. I love it. It was probably my second favorite in the park by far, even with Twisted Timbers. It was right there below I-305.
It was my number one.
I mean,
It was my number one.
It was really,
It was
really
just
good.
too unique. So like I know a lot of people that when they look at roller coasters, they think of intensity and things of that nature that really like gets their attention. But I like unique roller coasters. So like a lot of people wouldn't put Velocicoaster as number one, but I would because of the uniqueness of
Velocicoaster my number two.
Yeah, see,
Which Velocicoaster is my number one, but
right?
Velocicoaster number two because it's a total package.
Yeah,
and I think Rapterra is going to have that. I think they have a good theming.
Yeah,
the layout looks really, really good.
Correct.
And I like the fact that it's going to go over the midways, and that's something that Volcano never did.
Yeah.
And they're really going to incorporate the whole in that Jungle Expedition area. That's or Jungle
X.
Jungle X. It's such a great area.
It is.
It is so good. And even with Tumbili, which is a filler coaster, it just and with Reptilian, how they painted it. Kings Dominion. If you've never been to Kings Dominion, you got to get there. It's top 3, top 4 Cedar Fair parks for me. The legacy Cedar Fair parks.
Yeah. I don't think it's the clear top 3, but if you really were to pay attention, it really is top 3, right? But going back to it, that's an amazing area. Tumbili, you got to give it this credit. It adds to that coaster lineup really nicely, and also just the aesthetic of it sitting there looks really cool.
The GP are going to eat it up. That's going to be the most popular coaster at Kings Dominion.
Yeah,
because Twisted Timber is a little too intense for the GP. And I-305, Project 305 is obviously way too intense. Yeah. It never has a line. But that ride, Rapterra, that's going to be so popular. And it's going to blow. Kings Dominion is going to have a huge year next year.
And Kings Dominion should pat themselves on the back because we have other major theme park that they take 5 years to produce. Tron. These guys produced this coaster. Like it felt like it was overnight. Every single time I was going back to the park, I'm there almost every single weekend. And so much more of the track was up. If you watch some of my videos, you'll actually be able to notice. It's like there's like a whole new track put up overnight. There was
it's completed now, and it's early September.
Yeah, and when
that's
did
crazy.
They start? When did they like officially start? I don't remember.
Maybe a month and a half ago.
Shut up.
Has it been that quick? When I went there, when we were there in July, were they started vertical? I don't think they did.
No, I don't think they did. Oh my God!
But let's talk about the future because that ride is so good. Okay. It's going to do really well for the park. But where do you see as your home park, Kings Dominion, in 5 years from now? When do you think they'll get the next coaster after Rapterra? Yeah. And what else do you think the park needs?
So I definitely think that the success of the future
it needs a Zamperla.
The future of this park is going to be hinging off of the success of Rapterra, which I agree. I think it's going to be undeniable. That being said, up till it opens, we don't know. But if it ends up being a success, that park is going to demand a new coaster. As far as like what coaster would be the best addition to that lineup, I don't know off the top of my head exactly. I'm not the coaster pro that you are. I would rely on you for some feedback on that, and then give you my 2 cents.
Give us what you have, and I'll critique it.
I don't know. I don't know what would be. So my immediate thought would be after Rapterra would be the retheming of the three coasters that are left.
I can see that
in that area.
Yep. With the back lot,
Yeah.
Slide of Fear, and Anaconda, right? Or no, Project 305.
Yeah,
exactly. Anaconda already fits in that theme.
Yeah, and it's going to be next year, the 50th anniversary, coinciding with a brand new coaster that's going to be amazing. That the future of Kings Dominion is bright. Top 3 is to me undeniable, and I think if you do your research, it's definitely a good argument.
They just got to open up the Eiffel Tower.
No, but I've started throwing little jabs in my video about the Eiffel Tower.
But for its future coaster, is there any type that you think at the top of your head would be a good fit that you would personally want to see at the park? There's a bunch that I think would do really well. I mean, for example, the kid area, I could see a great new like family Vekoma boomerang coaster being added.
Yeah.
Like we just saw at Kings Dominion, or the family launch coaster coming to Carowinds.
Yeah.
You know, that their Planet Snoopy, I think it's called, is not as a ton of rides, but they only have two kid coasters, right?
Yeah,
Woodstock and then the small steel coaster. So they can really benefit from having another major coaster there for the kids.
Yeah.
Now on top of that, like Eddie said, Rapterra is going to bring in the crowds. There's only a few wing coasters in the country, and around that area, there's none. So it's going to do really, really well marketability wise. And I feel like with Busch Gardens opening up their Big Bad Wolf family inverted coaster next year, which looks great, by the way. Yeah. It will. Once they announce it, it's going to do really well too. I really feel like that Kings Dominion by 27 maybe add a family coaster, and then maybe 28, 29 add a brand new major coaster. Could they remove Anaconda? Mm-hmm. Like that's a huge coaster. It's a big plot of land. But then again, aero coasters like that usually are cheaper to operate.
Yeah.
And Anaconda doesn't have much downtime.
No.
But then again, they had with Vortex at Kings Island, they removed Vortex. So who knows? But what I would want to see is, and I want your feedback too, is I would love where the old go-kart track used to be by Grizzly. By the way, Grizzly is solid. Yeah. Grizzly's my third favorite coaster at Kings Dominion. It surpassed Dominator.
Yeah, it's nice.
Because the retrack. It's phenomenal. And not to sound crazy, but like, I love Twisted Timbers, but give me Grizzly at night. I know it's almost even for it.
I think you're taking that too far.
I know. I love it though. That tunnel, man. That tunnel's crazy. I had to listen to it one more time. I was like, wait, what? No, I love Twisted Timbers. Don't get me wrong, and it is a better ride. But I just love what they've done with Grizzly and the setting. As my home park, Carowinds, I would do anything for a wooden coaster out in the woods. Yeah. I grew up at Kings Island, so Grizzly's kind of modeled after the beast. It's in the woods. You don't know what's out there.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I just feel like what's coming next would be family coaster first.
Yep.
And then I feel like a major hyper coaster back beyond Grizzly that wraps around Grizzly, starts at the station area would be where the go-kart track is, and then kind of loops around the L-shaped right on Grizzly, and then has a turnaround over the parallel next to Twisted Timbers.
Yeah.
And something like Diamondback, because we have Project 305, which is arguably one of the best giga coasters and coasters in the world. But let's face it,
most unique for sure.
People don't ride it very much, and it has good capacity, but it's just super intense. And I think the location of it, if Project 305 was closer to the front of the park, it might get more visitors.
Yeah.
But it's way in the back beyond. Now maybe with Rapterra, it might bring more people there.
Yeah.
Who knows? But I feel like having a great hypercoaster, whether it's B&M or maybe mock rides, would do so well for Kings Dominion and the skyline as you walk in the park, because unlike Kings Island, Kings Dominion, everything is basically in the center of the park or the left side of the park. The only thing off to the right is Grizzly. Yeah. That's it. You don't have anything else. And so if they would ever do a hypercoaster, it would look dominating on the right side of the park. And I think that would,
And this, I don't want to take us too off track, but is there any reason why it couldn't be an Intamin?
It could be. Anything's possible now with the merger, right?
Okay.
Because Six Flags, Cedar Fair, they merged together, obviously. So who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what type of coaster they're going to build? It could be Intamin, it could be Vekoma, it could be B&M, it could be Mock Rides. There's plenty of companies out there that could build this. I'm just going off of what Cedar Fair is used to, and they already have an Intamin Giga.
Yeah.
I don't think an Intamin Hyper is the right move.
Yeah. Because
Intamin Hypers and Gigas are always a little bit more intense than the B&Ms or the Mock Rides. And something like a Mock Rides Hyper that maybe has an inversion or two would do really well for the park, like Hyperia at Thorpe Park, or the Hypercoaster at the Land of Legends, I think it's called, in Turkey. Like, those things look legit. Or DC Rivals at Warner Bros. Movie World down in Australia. It doesn't have any inversions, but God, that coaster is awesome. And I've heard fantastic things about them. So there's a lot of things Kings Dominion can obviously do. I'm very excited for the park future.
Yeah.
Just because Rapterra is going to do really, really well. I think they definitely could benefit from a few new flat rides coming up. And I think they could benefit from a new water park capital. It's been a couple of years.
Yep.
And they could definitely utilize, maybe it's getting a new slide on the area that's on the south or the west side of not Rebel Yell, but Racer 75, where the old Pro Slide Tornado used to be.
And I think the park is also, this thinking a little bit more out the box, is starting to justify some type of hotel.
I mean, they could, because there's nothing near Kings Dominion. There's like 4 hotels. And my recommendation to you guys is stay away. I mean, there's not many nice ones near Kings Dominion at all. Like, if you're balling on a budget like we all used to do and we all have in the past, then fine, it works. Because I've stayed at all 4 of those hotels before.
There's one right across
there used to be
the
a
parking lot.
Econo Lodge out there. I don't think it's there anymore.
No.
And we stayed out there, and that was nasty, like, what, 15 years, 20 years ago. But, yeah, stay south of the town. That's what we did. Like Ashland, I think it is.
Yeah.
It's a little nicer.
Closer to Richmond.
But then we have Kalahari opening up soon, about 30 minutes north.
Yeah, that's going to be pricey.
And it's but it's going to be cool though. They have great water parks. But I'm very excited. So what's your closing statements for Kings Dominion's future?
So I think Kings Dominion has a super bright future with next year being its 50th anniversary. They've already started to tease a lot of what's going to be coming as far as what the celebration is. It's going to be a year-long celebration starting with a brand new coaster. And you brought up a good point. I think some type of family-friendly coaster is probably the next best bet, and mostly with the neighboring park, Busch Gardens.
Yep.
I think these guys are constantly watching each other and taking into consideration what's going to be the best move for the park, and also in competition with our neighbors.
You know, it is, because Busch Gardens is an hour away, and it's crazy. We talked about in the past where over the time it's been Busch Gardens was that #1 park. People would go to Busch Gardens and, we'll add a day at Kings Dominion. But now it's like, well, they're both really good parks.
Yep.
And a lot of people complained that Cedar Fair didn't handle Kings Dominion the way they should have, from like before Twisted Timbers in those years of ripping out all the coasters, Hypersonic, Shockwave. And I get that. Even after Twisted Timbers, I still feel like Cedar Fair has done very smart moves.
Yeah.
And Airtime Mike will agree with us. He's great, by the way. Go check out him on El Toro Ryan's buddy, Airtime Mike. Awesome guy. But I think they have a plan for Kingston. They obviously have a plan, but their plan is working.
Yeah.
They have great restaurants, great atmosphere. Park goers are happy. They're enjoying their day at the park. And it's a beautiful park. And now you have this really solid coaster that looks fantastic. If it's anything like Thunderbird, we're in for a treat. Have you been on Thunderbird?
No.
Oh, it's so much. It's great.
Yeah.
It's the best wing coaster.
Yeah. Sometimes the decisions that they make don't look in the forefront like the best decision.
But a year down the road, 2 or 3 years down the road, that makes sense now.
Because they're making equitable business decisions, right? So they take a view of the full picture, not just let's bring the craziest, biggest coaster. It's what's going to be the best coaster to fit with our lineup.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they're doing it well because this coaster is unique. Busch Gardens Williamsburg doesn't have it. And I don't think you can find any type of coaster that's the same at each of those parks. I mean, relatively speaking. And I think that's a good thing. Now, that's why I think a mock Hyper would do better than a B&M Hyper, because you have a polished chariot.
Yeah.
You know,
you could almost guarantee that if Busch Gardens gets it, Kings Dominion isn't gonna get it.
I think that's respect out of both parks, or maybe they sign on the contract. You can't build this type of coaster there as well. There's always both of those
not
scenarios.
Just that, if one ends up being obviously better, then you won't go to the other one, right? Why am I going to go to Kings Dominion if I know that the Busch Gardens one is better?
So now my burning question: since your home parks are Busch Gardens and Kings Dominion, which one do you like better?
Oh gosh, oh gosh. So I'll say I like Busch Gardens better overall from the aesthetics. I mean, you can't compare going from country to country, right? And then Pantheon is an amazing roller coaster. I already told you guys that Velocicoaster is my #1 favorite roller coaster, and Pantheon is Velocicoaster without theming, right? It's like the bare bones Velocicoaster.
It is a good ride. It's solid.
And Apollo's Chariot before that was my favorite coaster in Virginia.
It's a fun ride. I like Apollo's. I think it gets a lot of hate. I love the setting up of Apollo's, but just imagine that, but another 65, 70 feet on top of it for King's Dominion's hypercoaster.
Yeah.
In the woods, we're running along the side of Grizzly. Come on, KD. I know you want to do this, but I think King's Dominion by 2030 will be definitely a top tier park in the Six Flags chain. And with or Busch Gardens really amplifying their new kid coaster next year, or family coaster, I think they'll be getting a thrill coaster after that, probably next 2 or 3 years after. And it's a very exciting time to be in this area. And again, you cannot. It's really a shame to only do one of those parks because they're only an hour from each other. So do one, do the other, make it happen, and it's just a great time. And now, if you're wondering how I rank the coasters at King's Dominion, this video at the bottom of your screen is just for you. Check it out because I think you're going to be a little bit surprised. Also, go check out Eddytainment. His link to his page will be in the description of this video. With that being said, what do you think about the future of King's Dominion? Let me know in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching. Remember to smile today, think positive, and keep riding coasters.